How are we today? Good. I'm glad to hear it. It's so exciting seeing so many of you here to help us celebrate the release of Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear by Mr. Mosab. We just have you. Yeah. That's how you're all here, right? And here at Busboys and Poets, we're proud to be able to host such an amazing and prolific poet. And without further ado, I'm actually going to give the reins over to his, he doesn't like the word, but his agent, Ahmed Mansour.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Alayka salam.
I first want to thank Busboys and Poets, my brother Andy, for providing this space to allow creativity to emerge and to inspire and to be inspired. Let's give it up again to Andy as if we knew it. Thank you all for being here. It's always great to see old friends and new ones. Abby, Brian, Zayna, Maya, Paul, Steve, Nancy, Mary, Muayyad, Taj Sir, Fakhra من المتحف الفلسطيني, and everyone else, Karam, Lee, Loy.
Call to prayer. I love it.
That's the next one. No, really, thank you for being here. Everyone hopefully got a pen. You might be asking what's the pen is about. And here's Lori. Big thank you to Lori for putting it together. Really, thank you. The pen is from Philistia Company in partnership with Gaza Ambassador. We partnered with Busboys and Poets. This is a new initiative, which is premised according to a quote that I read recently, which is the motto for me and for my Gazan peers. The first act of liberation is to grab back our story. And we might find here about Gaza being in the news, the most mentioned word in the news. But today, we announce that for Gaza, there are sons and daughters, and they're capable of representing this piece of land. And tonight, we're going to hear from the first ambassador of the year, Mosab Abu Toha. If I may introduce the moderator, Zaina Azzam. She really doesn't need a presentation. Zaina Azzam is a Palestinian-American poet, writer, editor, and community activist. She's the poet laureate, laureate of Alexandria, Virginia for 2022 to 2025. MashaAllah. Zaina has published dozens of poems in literary journals and anthologies, and her chapbook, Baina, In Between, was published in 2021. Without further ado, please, Zaina, the floor is yours.
I don't have the information. بس مش رح نقعد هناك.
Okay. Lori? No,
هلا تفضل ماما.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for attending tonight. It is such a pleasure for me to be part of this event. And it is really my honor to be having a conversation with Mosab Abu Toha and to introduce him. Mosab Abu Toha is a Palestinian poet, scholar, and librarian who was born in Gaza and has spent his life there. A graduate in English language teaching and literature, he taught English at the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA, schools in Gaza from 2016 to 2019, and he's the founder of the Edward Said Library, Gaza's first English language library. In 2019 to 2020, Abu Toha was a visiting poet in the Department of Comparative Literature at Harvard University, a visiting librarian at Harvard's Houghton Library, and a Religion, Conflict, and Peace Initiative Fellow in the Harvard Divinity School. He gave talks in 2020 and readings at the University of Pennsylvania, Temple University, and the University of Arizona. He also spoke at the American Library Association Midwinter Meeting held in Philadelphia in 2020 and in 21. Notre Dame's Literatures of Annihilation, Exile, and Resistance lecture series. They hosted him to speak about his poetry and his work in Gaza. He's also a columnist for Aerosmith Press, and his writings from Gaza have appeared in The Nation, Aerosmith Press, and Literary Hub. His poems have been published on the Poetry Foundation's website, in Poetry Magazine, Banipal, Solstice, the Markaz Review, the New Arab, Peripheries, and other journals. So may I invite you up to the stage so we can have a short conversation before you do your reading tonight. There's one right there. Oh. Okay. Can you all hear me? Well, you can hear me well, I think. I can hear myself. So I also want to add my thanks to Busboys and Poets for hosting this event and for always welcoming Palestinian artists, and to Ahmed Mansour and Felicia Films for organizing Mosab's visit to DC and doing such wonderful work. And also I add my welcome to Mosab. Alhamdulillah, Salami. He had a rough day today going from place to place, and we finally are happy to have you with us. So before I start asking Mosab a couple of questions about his life and his work, I wanted to just make a few remarks about his book. The book, Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear. So your book, Mosab, is a collection of sensitively written poems about your experience of life in Gaza. These are stories as well as ruminations about how war, siege, and destruction affect the people of Gaza. Your straightforward yet poetic voice hits right to the core and paints pictures with many perceptive details for the reader. Your descriptions are sensory. We can hear the birds and look at the sea and taste the oshali that your father gives you with milk before school. We walk the streets with you and are stunned by the Apache helicopter that shoots a rocket into a building and see it through your 8-year-old boy eyes. We hear the things hidden in your ear, both the roar of the F-16 and the melody of Arabic songs. Thank you for writing these meaningful poems and sharing them with us. And congratulations on winning the Palestine Book Award for 2022. So I wanted to ask you a few questions before you read tonight, so we can get to know you and your approach to writing and the experiences that have shaped you. First of all, we Palestinians all have stories about our families. Each of them is different, but they are all part of the same immense tapestry of Palestinian history. Can you tell us a little bit about your family history before 1948 and in Gaza, and then your own personal story?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank Busboys for organizing this event, and also to the Gaza ambassador, led by Ahmed Mansour, and also to Zayna for her powerful work. I was born in Gaza in 1992. I usually say just a few months before the Oslo Accord. I was not aware of what was going on in Palestine. Had I known I was going to be born there, maybe I would have asked to, maybe I would have applied for an asylum in a different country. But I'm happy that I'm from Gaza, and I think every one of us is very important to be a witness, because it's not only about my life, it's also about the lives of other people in Palestine, and especially in the Gaza Strip, who I know, which a place I'm very aware of. So my grandparents, just like about 800,000 Palestinians, were expelled from their hometowns and villages. So my grandparents and their families were expelled from Jaffa, which is a beautiful city on the Mediterranean. And Jaffa is also the name of my daughter. So I couldn't visit Jaffa, but I can see Jaffa in my eyes. So I have something I think about her. I look through her eyes and I see my grandfather's footsteps on the beach. So I was born in a refugee camp called Ashate, or Beach Refugee Camp, in 1992. I mean, there are still people who live in the refugee camps, and these refugee camps were built just as a makeshift until people could return to what they aspire to go back. But unfortunately, the refugee camp has become a permanent home for many, and people, unfortunately, in Gaza and Palestine are not thinking very much about returning, but they are thinking about surviving, because Israel is just keeping its killing machine on us. So people now are not just thinking about Jerusalem, about Palestine, it's just about surviving. They just want to live. So, what else?
That's great. Yeah, thank you. If we can go to the book for a moment, can you tell us how it's laid out and the different sections of it, and sort of some of the themes?
Yeah. Well, the first one, I don't know if other people tried this, but I thought of creating my own dictionary. So the first poem in my book is called Palestine AZ. So for each letter in the English alphabet, I chose 2 words, and what these 2 words mean to me. So I think every one of you can create their own Palestine AZ, America AZ, or whatever country or whatever village you come from, or country or city. So for each letter in the alphabet, I came up with 2 words from the dictionary, and I wrote what they mean to me. And I'm going to read one of them, some sections from that poem. There is also a long poem toward the end of the book. It's titled "The Wounds," and it's a narrative poem, and I I wrote about my experience of surviving there. I was wounded in the 2008 and 9 Israeli attack in Gaza. I was 16, I was still a child. So I wrote a long poem about this experience just 2 years ago. So these details stayed with me for more than 10 years. And when I started writing about this experience, it was like I started remembering things I never thought I could remember. The process of writing helps you sometimes discover some things that come to your dream or some nightmares that you cannot expel from your mind until you write about them in the poem. The book also has a section, a series of poems which go along with pictures and photos. So these photos in the middle of the book are photos that I took in Gaza, whether of a boat on the sea, on the beach, or a smashed mirror in the last Israeli attack in 2021. Some strawberries that survived the Israeli attacks also. So I wrote a poem photo, or a photo poem. So these were nine poems in the collection. And I wrote about my grandfather. So my grandfather to me is someone who I never met in my life. He died just a few years, or a couple or 3 years before my father got married. So I never saw him in my life. So the only way I can see him is through photos and also through my father's story about him. So he, to me, at least, he represents Palestine, the true Palestine that I want to live in, which is a place I hear about, but I'm unable to live in. I'm unable to touch. And I also wrote about some Israeli airstrikes and also nature. So nature to us in Gaza is not always beautiful, because I wrote a new poem about the 4 children of the Bakr family who were killed on the beach of Gaza. They were playing soccer ball on the beach, and Israel killed them. So I think 4 of them were killed and 4 survived death. I'm thinking about the many children who survived death, whether when they were on the beach or at schools, which many times become shelter for families who have to leave their houses. So these places, what become of them? They become a sign of death. So the beach, the scenes that we see from the beach and the blood there, can become a trauma for other children. And also the sun. Everyone looks at the sun as a new sign of a new day. But for us in Gaza, it's a sign for us that there are some problems, some difficulties to overcome. So the sun brings with it problems and the troubles for everyone in Gaza.
And there's also a section at the very end which is an interview, which is like 23 pages. Yeah, do you want to talk about that?
Yes. That's a little bit. Okay, so the book ends with an interview that professor and poet and novelist Amir Al-Khalai did with me. I think it was a very important interview because I was asked many questions. And again, I think writing and being interviewed, sometimes you discover yourself when you answer these questions. And when you write your own creative work, sometimes you discover things that were hidden inside of you. And through writing, you could discover who you are, what can become of you. Sometimes you dream, sometimes you build on something. And one very important role of writing to me is that I'm not only reporting what's happening, but I'm also recreating it. Because no one of those who were killed told us what happened to them. So I'm just trying to imagine what was happening before that attack, what happened when they were wounded, and what happened before they succumbed to their wounds. So there's one important poem in my book. It's a very important poem to me, which I wrote in May of last year. It's titled Shrapnel Looking for Laughter, and I will read it, and I will show a video that I took before I wrote the poem, because I wrote the poem after those attacks took place in Gaza.
Great, and we will only ask a couple more questions, and I know you're all interested in hearing Mosab read. One of the poems in your book is titled "A Voice from Beneath." You write that this voice tells you to stop writing heavy poems, poems that have bombs and corpses, destroyed houses, and shrapnel-covered streets. But then you write, that voice takes away my voice. Can you tell us about your voice? Do you write to tell your story, to express frustration or sadness? Do you write in hopes that people will learn about Gaza and Palestine? Do you write in hopes of changing politics on the ground? What shapes your voice and who's your audience?
Well, I think most of what you mentioned. So sometimes, we have the language, we have the material we write on. So sometimes I question what is the guilt of those sheets of paper have that I put bombs and bullets and wounds on them. And sometimes they complain and we stop writing on us these things, these horrible things. And in one poem I wrote, it's not in this collection. So I was having a nightmare that there was some smoke coming out of the drawer and there was some fire. So I went to that drawer and I discovered that there was a sheet of paper on which I wrote a poem, and the last word in the poem was the word bomb. And there was no full stop to stop the explosion of the bomb. So this is one example of what it means to me to be a writer. I'm not only a writer, I'm a Palestinian writer, I'm a Gazan writer. I write about my people who are voiceless, people who either were not spared to tell us what happened to them, or people who cannot express themselves in maybe in the English language or in a poetic language, but they can tell you, if you talk to them, they can tell you poems without them realizing that they are talking poetry. So my voice is the voice of the anguish, and the voice of the survivor and the witness.
Thank you. Even though your poems are about the challenging experience of war and destruction and how they affect the people of Gaza, you also situate your poems within the context of gratitude and appreciation of family and culture and nature. You talk about your grandfather who died before you were born and make connections with your own children. I love the lines you write in the first long poem in the book, and I don't mean to take them away from you about Yafa, but Yafa is my daughter's name, he writes. I put my ears near her mouth when she speaks, and I hear Yafa's sea, waves lapping against the shore. I look in her eyes and I see my grandparents' footsteps still imprinted on the sand. I think that's beautiful, profound. So, can you say a little bit more about this? What keeps your spirits up? What gives you hope?
Well, first of all, every one of us who lives under, deprivation and danger, sometimes they need to show that they are brave, they are fearless, not because they feel this way, but because they want others to stay alive. So, for example, in the May 2021 attacks, and I'm going to show you a couple of videos from those attacks. They were happening at night. So we were about 14 people in one place, and Israel started to attack us just at 12 in the morning. So the Israelis, this is very unique of them. They start attacking Gaza at midnight when children are just asleep. So they would just freak them out and just bring them out of their sleep. They would just remind them that they are in Gaza. You cannot just sleep peacefully. So we were about 14 young adult people, and Israel started attacking. And it happened for the first time. We could hear the bomb just before it hit the ground. We could hear it when it left the warplane. And we were just putting our hands on our heads, expecting what? This is a very important question. Is it falling on us? Okay, so if not on us, then on other people. And I would have, so my daughter was in my lap and she was crying. And I was telling her, no, don't be scared. No, we are fine. I knew we were not fine, but I was just convincing them, everyone around me, that everything was going to be okay. Everything was not okay, but it should be okay. Because we are together. So I think survival is a collective action. It's not surviving on your own, it's with others. And in my book, Chapter from Laughter, I think I mentioned something about this. It's a really heartbreaking poem for me to have written it and also to read it. But I will have to read it because I want everyone to know what it means to be living in Gaza, to be living in Palestine, to be thinking about death even while you are looking at flowers and looking at the sun in the sky.
Just have one more question. You've written poems about Edward Said, also about Mosab Abu Toha and Mahmoud Darwish. These are towering figures in Palestinian literature or in literature in general. Talk about your poetic influences briefly and how they are developing and evolving in the context of your MFA program and also as you evolve as a poet.
Well, my education as a Palestinian boy and now a man, I was raised on the poetry of the classic Arab poets, you know, Al-Mutanabbi, Imru al-Qais, Al-Asha, Amr ibn Kulthum, these big names. Even in Arabic, when you read them, sometimes you will need a dictionary for everywhere. So we learned, you know, it's like reading Chaucer maybe or Shakespeare. So, but maybe it's more difficult. So I was raised on these poets and also on Mahmoud Darwish, who I think is the greatest poet in the 20th century. So I wasn't exposed to the English language poetry. So I think my poetry, the power of my poetry, if it's at all powerful, comes from my experience living in Gaza, surviving, people around me. Everyone around me in Gaza is a poem. So I think there is a saying by I think Abu Ala al-Ma'ari. He says that minutes. Food still on table and on plates, on deserted kitchen table, warm water, screens everywhere, roller coaster, broken, coffee spilled on rug, grandmother stood, cat dead, kittens mewing, sparrow on window, shrapnel hits door, water leaks, air soaks blood, fighters aim at soldiers shielded inside bulletproof vehicles. One falls, another springs to fall again, and blood pool. Bombs, smoke chokes morning air, lips drenched, sun helpless, moon absent. No oil for lamp. A surviving lamb bleeds on hill, and hundreds of tons in the village cannot move in mouths. Younger than war. Tanks roll through dust, through eggplant fields, beds unmade, lighting in sky. Brother jumps to window to watch warplanes flying through clouds of smoke after airstrike. Warplanes that look like eagles searching for a tree branch to perch on. Catch breath. But these metal eagles are catching souls in a blood-bone soup bowl. No need for radio. We are the news. Ants' ears hurt with each bullet fired from wrathful machine guns. Soldiers advance, burn books. Some smoke rolled sheets of yesterday's newspaper, just like they did when they were kids. Our kids hide in the basement, backs against concrete pillars, heads between knees, parents silent, humid down here, there, and the heat of burning smokes adds up to the slow death of survival. In September 2000, and after I had brought bread for dinner, I saw a helicopter firing a rocket into a tower. As far from me as my frightful cries, when I heard concrete and glass falling from high, loaves of bread went stale. I was still 7 at the time. I was decades younger than war, a few years older than the bombs. I can just sit without the mic. Okay, my dream.
طالع يا جماعة. يا جماعة.
My dreams as a child. I still have dreams about a room filled with toys. My mother always promised we could have if we were rich. I still have dreams about seeing the refugee camp from a window on a plane. I still have dreams about seeing the animals I learned about in 3rd grade. Elephant, giraffe, kangaroo, and wolf. I still have dreams about running for miles and miles with no border blocking my feet, with no unexploded bombs scaring me off. I still have dreams about playing soccer on the beach, me standing and waiting for the ball to come my way and run away with it. I still have dreams about my grandfather, how much I want to pick oranges with him in Jaffa. But my grandfather died. Jaffa is occupied, and the oranges no longer grow on his weeping groves. Looking for a door. From the time I learned how to read, I have been looking for a door in the letters of home. Everything is locked up. No sound of chants or songs inside. No scent of manakish or baba ganoush. No books or dictionaries on the shelves. The letters get saggy and rusty in the scorching suns of the languages. It is a scentless, tasteless food. It is a blurry word. Even languages fail to define its boundaries. So this is a manual for Gazans. The title is What a Gazan Should Do During an Israeli Airstrike. So this is a very, very new poem. So, what a Gazan should do during an Israeli airstrike. Turn off the lights in every room. Sit in the inner hallway of the house, away from the windows. Stay away from the stove. Stop thinking about making black tea. Have a bottle of water near, big enough to cool down children's fear. Get a child's kindergarten backpack and stuff tiny toys and whatever amount of money there is. And the ID cards and photos of late grandparents, aunts, or uncles, and the grandparents' wedding invitation that's been kept for a long time. And if one is a farmer, they should put some strawberry seeds in one pocket and some soil from the balcony's flower pot in the other. And hold on tight to whatever number there was on the cake from the last birthday. Okay, last poem, the last new poem here. Request letter. He penned a quick letter on paper, a letter as plain in regard to form as possible, with no white spaces, and he threw it in the graveyard at night. Angel of death, when you collect the souls of those killed in an airstrike, do you mind leaving a sign for us so we know who is who? Because last time, a mother couldn't recognize her daughter's face. Which ear or arm or finger on the bloody streets was hers? And a father couldn't recognize what was his children, which was his child, if it wasn't for the size of shoes, 28 European sizes still on the sole, that he bought her for the new school year. On the back of the paper, he penned the same letter in Arabic, because who could know what language the angel of death was fluent in? The most spoken language in the world, or the language of God. إلى ملك الموت عندما تجمع أرواح من قتلوا في الغارة الجوية هل تمانع بأن تترك إشارة تدلنا على من هو من؟ لأنه في المرة الماضية لم تستطع أن تتعرف على وجه ابنتها أية أذن أو ذراع أو إصبع في الشارع المبني كان لابنتها. وكذا أب لم يستطع أن يعرف أية طفلة كانت ابنته لولا حجم الحذاء 28 بالمقياس الأوروبي كان منقوشا على نعل الحذاء الذي اشتراه لها العام الدراسي الجديد. I still have. So in my published poetry book, there is a notebook which has very small poems, and I'm starting to write a longer notebook. But this notebook is dated 2021, 2022, and I'm going to read just a few of them. My two eyes, when closed, each see different things. One, me leaving Gaza in peace in one piece. One, me getting jailed at the Ares crossing point. My head, a confused old TV channel picking up crossed signals. At 5th grade, I visit the school library. On one wall next to the door, a poster claims, if you read books, you live more than one life. Now I'm 30, and whenever I look at faces around me, old or young, or on the foreheads I read,
It's part of the poem.
Okay, I'm gonna read it again. At 5th grade, I visit the school library. On one wall, next to the door, a poster claims, if you read books, you live more than one life. Okay. Now, I'm 30, and whenever I look at faces around me, old or young, on the foreheads I read, if you live in Gaza, you die several times. She asked her teacher, if there are 4 directions, then why do you have only 2 feet? Birds draw the lines of their homes in the sky. And the wind? Okay, one last one. Stones of house after explosion get Alzheimer's. Some forget they were in a wall, in a bedroom, or a kitchen, or a bathroom. Some in a ceiling. Some forget they sat behind photo frames for years. A few stones forget they were stones, those hit by the bomb. Let's see the old work. Okay, so I'm going to read some poems, especially from the first one, which is called Palestine AZ. So this is my own dictionary, and I think I can create multiple dictionaries using the same way. And a good way maybe for you to read the poem or maybe share it with your friends is taking the letters of your name and sending it to them. So this is what every letter stands for in my name. So A, an apple that fell from the table on a dark evening when man-made lightning flashed through the kitchen, the streets, and the sky, rattling the cupboards and breaking the dishes. And is the linking verb that follows I in the present tense when I'm no longer present, when I'm shattered. B, a book that doesn't mention my language or my country and has maps of every place except for my birthplace, as if I was an illegitimate child on Mother Earth. Borders are those invented lines drawn with ash on maps and sewn into the ground by bullets. C, Gaza is a city where tourists gather to take photos next to destroyed buildings or graveyards. A country that exists only in my mind. Its flag has no room to fly freely, but there is space on the coffins of my countrymen. D, Dar means house. My grandparents left their house behind in 1948 near Yafa Beach. A tree my father told me about stood in the front yard. Dreams of children and their parents of listening to songs or watching plays at Al-Mishal Cultural Center. Israel destroyed it in August 2018. I hate August, but plays are still performed in Gaza. Gaza is the stage. Let's move. You. It wasn't raining that day, but I took my umbrella anyway. When an F-16 flew over the town, I opened my umbrella to hide. Kids thought I was a clown. In August 2014, Israel bombed my university's administration building. The English department was turned into a ruin. My graduation ceremony got postponed. Families of the dead attended to receive not a degree, but a portrait of their dead child. I'm going to read this poem because Zaina asked me to read it, and I love it, and I would like to read it in her honor, Leaving a Childhood Behind. So Mahmoud Darwish, he was about 7 years old when Palestine was occupied, so he had to leave Al-Birwa village in Akka. So when he returned, he was thinking, when I was visiting and Peru. I didn't find it. Was I looking for my childhood that I lived there? So I wrote my own poem, Leaving Childhood Behind, about my experience of leaving my house during the Israeli airstrikes in 2009, in 2014, in 2021, and who knows what next. So leaving a childhood behind. When I left my childhood in the drawer and on the kitchen table. I left my toy horse in its plastic bag. I left without looking at the clock. I forget whether it was noon or evening. Our horse spent the night alone. No water, no grains for dinner. It must have thought we'd left to cook a meal for late guests or to make a cake for my sister's 10th birthday. I walked with my sister down our road with no end. We sang a birthday song. The warplanes echoed across the heavens. My tired parents walked behind, my father clutching to his chest the keys to our house and to the saddle. We arrived at the rescue station. The news of the airstrikes roared on the radio. I hated it, but I hated life too. When we had to walk to our drawn-out trip, reciting our never-ending oath. Okay, this is a very special poem to me because it's to my grandfather. So the poem has, if you have the book, there are no punctuation marks, no full stops, no commas, even no capital letters, and maybe by the end of the poem you will know why. So it has 7 sections. My grandfather and hope. My grandfather used to count the days for litter with his fingers. He then used stones to count. Not enough. He used the clouds, birds, people. Absence turned out to be too long. 36 years until he died. For us now, it is over 70 years. My grandpa lost his memory. He forgot the numbers, the people, he forgot home. 2. I wish I were with you, Grandpa. I would have taught myself to write you poems, volumes of them, and paint our home for you. I would have sewn you from soil a garment decorated with plants and trees you had grown. I would have made you perfume from the oranges, and so from the sky's tears of joy. Couldn't think of something purer. 3. I go to the cemetery every day. I look for your grave, but in vain. Are they sure they buried you? Or did you turn into a tree? Or perhaps you flew off with a bird to the nowhere? 4. I placed your photo in an earthenware pot. I water it every Monday and Thursday at sunset. I was told you used to fast those days. In Ramadan, I water it every day for 30 days or less or more. 5. How big do you want our home to be? I can continue to write you poems until you are satisfied. If you wish, I can annex a neighboring planet or 2. 6. For this home, I shall not draw boundaries, no punctuation marks. So in the book, if you remember, this is a photo of an honorable school where many people from Jabalia refugee camp had to move because of the Israeli airstrike. So we had to stay in an honorable school. So I took this photo, and I'm a person who takes a lot of pictures on my phone. So I took this picture and I wrote a short poem titled Midterm Test. So the question is, when a drone follows you on your way to school, what is it doing? A, it's keeping an eye on you so you won't get hit by a car. B, it's watching in case you lose your pocket money on the way. C, it's counting your steps to make sure you are getting your daily exercise. Or D, it's covering your head in case an F-16 drops a bomb on you by mistake. why, the fourth choice, I wrote it on purpose. Why? Because in November 2019, about 8 people from the same family were killed after Israel targeted their house. And it turned out that they were just citizens. They were not military people. Israel realized that, and they said, and the Israeli army said, "Oh, we thought the house was empty." Okay, so even if it's empty, why do you bomb it? So that's why I wrote the last option, because they might have to choose. Silence of water. Silence of water. Father typing on keyboard. Mother reading the morning paper aloud to cover the sound of a neighbor's radio. Hanging lamp swinging in the breeze from a cracked window. Flies losing balance sometimes. Black and white pictures on walls searching for colors. Kettle on stove. One big drop hammers the roof. No lightning, thunder, or clouds. It rains only on this house. Dust and concrete stuff the nostrils of other houses. Water on stove. No rubber bullets. Shrapnel has cut its throat. I think it's time to show the video. Step here. Okay, I can just. So we are going to show you a couple of videos of some Israeli night hairstyles. So the thing that you are going to see, the events. So the events lasted for about an hour that night. So you are going just to see 59 seconds of it. And just after this night, I wrote, so, okay, I'll tell you the story after this video. Okay, stop here. Stop. لا 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 عيد. So this is from our window. continue reading here. Okay. So that was May 15, 2021. And the next morning, we learned that about 40 people in one street were killed during these airstrikes. And one specific family who I wrote about in this poem, they are called a Panani family. So these are the parents, the two parents, and their 4 children, and the 4 children are under 10. They were killed in one attack. They were trying to escape the airstrike. And I was very touched by the story, and I just imagined myself and with my children being killed. So I wrote this poem, which is titled, Shrapnel Looking for Laughter. The house has been bombed. Everyone dead. The kids, the parents, the toys, the actors on TV, characters in novels, personas in poetry collections, the I, the he, and the she, no pronoun left. Not even for the kids when they learn parts of speech next year. Shrapnel flies in the dark, looks for the family's peals of laughter, hiding behind piles of disfigured walls and bleeding picture frames. The radio no longer speaks. Its batteries have burned. The antenna is broken. Even the broadcaster felt the pain when the radio was hit. Even we, hearing the bomb as it fell, threw ourselves to the ground, each of us counting the others around them. We were safe, but our hearts still ache. Okay, the wounds. This is my poem. And about, let's say, 95% of the poem is true. It's not good, it's just what happened. So it's a long poem, it's about it. You can just. Okay, maybe this is better. So the wounds. It's about my wounds in 28, 29 Israeli attack. I was 16 at the time. So I tell the story of my being wounded. Before it happened, our leaving of our house. What happened to one of my teachers? He was my science teacher at 4th grade, and he was a paramedic, and he was killed in one attack just a few meters from our house. And I saw some horrible scenes in the ambulance where he was killed. So I'm going to read parts of it because it's a long one, but you will get a sense of what the poem is trying to say. The wounds. Israeli aggression against Gaza, December 27, 2008, January 18, 2009. A Saturday, first day of the week in Gaza, age 16, and after the first finals, I finished my Arabic exam. I liked Arabic as much as I liked English and soccer. I discussed my answers with my father. Home by noon, we stood on the roof of our house, watched the pigeons my father raised as a hobby. The limitless ceiling above us was part blue, part white, ships of cloud sailing slowly in the wind and windless sky. A series of explosions shook the house, the neighborhood, shook the air. Words fell from my mouth, broke on my stiff, bare feet. Birds from nowhere flew aimlessly in the open sky. Some hid in trees. The pigeons and their big coop trembled. Rock pigeons, Egyptian pigeons, king pigeons, and Halabi pigeons. A tiny egg fell. My answers must have fallen off the pages of my exam, maybe melting from fear. I saw black smoke rise from a building a few kilometers away, blacker than the ink on my exam sheets. We didn't hear the F-16s until they finished their airstrikes. They descended from the inferno, Dante hadn't mentioned them. About 80 F-16 aircraft with their bombs struck Gaza in unison, like a big drum roll announcing someone's death. But it was more than one death, I thought. It had to be. We hurried to the radio, that old dirty box that usually vomits blood and body parts into our ears, hospitals full of burning wounds, moans, a corpse, and a girl missing her leg, lying on a cot or a bloody floor. Okay, we done with this, Kevin? And then I talk about my brother, who passed away in 2016. He was born ill, but my brother Hudayfa was born deaf and mute. He never grew up well, either physically or mentally, but emotionally he was fine. We didn't know that. He was watching TV with us when videos and photos of deformed bodies and limbless people appeared on the TV screen. 2 days later, Hudayfa was hid inside, in a place he couldn't see. We gave him a glass of water, he poured it on the floor, he broke dishes, snatched the TV cord, picked his clothes. We cried for him, we prayed for him. Days later, he came back to us. And now my story of being wounded, really. Barely 16, I'm on my way to the grocery shop to buy some boiled eggs. I love boiled eggs. I see a large cloud of people gathering at the crossroad. I get curious. I walk toward them. Being small, I cannot see through the crowd. A yellow light hits. My head's split, half open. I feel this somehow. The light might help me see more clearly, I tell myself. Blood drips onto my eyelashes and hoodie. In the brief moments standing there, I'm asking myself, how come you can stand while your head is slashed open? Everyone around me has collapsed to the ground, fallen like beads of sweat. I still stand. The picture freezes before me. The smell of gunpowder crawls into my lungs. Like a madman, I begin to run around. Someone gives me a tissue to wipe the blood on my left cheek and forehead. I need much more than that. It's not only my cheeks and forehead. The shrapnel has also blown holes in my neck and shoulder. I'm no longer wearing my slippers. The 5 shekels have disappeared. I look around, people are rushing towards us. A vehicle approaches, ambulance, it says. But there's no paramedic, first aid, no bed to lie on. Come on, it's my first time being wounded. I get inside, someone throws a corpse in next to me. The body burnt, maybe no head. I don't look at it. The smell is so bad. I'm so sorry, whoever you are. The smell of death. I open the window for fresh air. The ambulance driver doesn't ask me how I am. At the Shifa hospital, people in and out. I walk into the emergency room. No one looks at me. I sit on the ground next to other wounded people. Some lie on the floor like burnt matches. A nurse who checks on me sees the hole in my neck and the wounds on my face. She starts to touch my abdomen and back to see if there's any wound I cannot feel. An elevator carries my girdle upstairs to the radiology room. A doctor tends to my wounds. Someone is looking after me. An hour passes, my father and my brother walk in. My brother points at the hole in my neck. Your index finger can fit in that hole. It's centimeters from your windpipe. If, when the rocket fell, I had moved my head a bit to watch a bird on a tree, or to count the clouds coming from the west side, the shrapnel might have cut through my throat. I wouldn't be married to my wife, father of 3 kids, one born in America. My brother tells me, Hearing the explosion and knowing you hadn't returned home yet, we assumed you were dead. We began searching for you in the morning. I looked around me. Relatives circled my bed. I watched them as they chat. I imagined them praying round my coffin. Two more poems. One title poem. Things you may find hidden in my ear. So this one is a poem I wrote after I had a surgery on my right ear in Massachusetts when I was at Harvard. So I wrote the first section I wrote to my doctor, and I sent it to her in a text message, and she said, "Oh, you're good poet." And then so you will notice what the first section is and how the other section responds to it. So things you may find hidden in my ear for Alicia and Husnel MD. 1. When you open my ear, touch it gently. My mother's voice lingers somewhere inside. Her voice is the echo that helps me recover equilibrium when I feel dizzy in my attentiveness. You may encounter songs in Arabic, poems in English I recite to myself, or a song I chant to the chirping birds in our backyard. When you stitch the cup, don't forget to put all these back in my ear. Put them back in order, as you would do with the books on your shelf. 2. The drone's buzzing sound, the roar of an F-16, the screams of bombs falling on houses, on fields, and on bodies, of rockets flying away. Rid my tiny ear canal of you all. Spray the perfume of your smiles on the incision. Inject the song of life into my veins to wake me up. Gently beat the drum, so my mind may dance with yours, my doctor, day and night. So, in Palestine, we don't have an airport, not to say in Gaza. So there was one in Gaza, but Israel destroyed it just a few months after it was opened. So we don't have an airport, we don't have the luxury of traveling whenever we want, we don't have, we only belong and are able to see the world when we are outside of Gaza. So this poem is called Forever Homeless. Before my long travel, I packed my suitcases, stuffed them with some sand from our land, some sand from my mother's kitchen, and sounds of birds in the morning. And in my pockets, I put the 4 directions. My hands are the compass. At the airport, I begged the officer not to open the suitcases, and if needed, to touch my clothes gently. Otherwise, I would be standing on nothing, surrounded by nothing, see nothing. I would be weightless and forever homeless. Thank you.
Let's give him one more round of applause.
So we have around 15 minutes for questions. The wireless mic is not working.
It is not, so we're gonna ask you to do the difficult thing of coming up front and revealing yourself. Because we would like everyone to be able to hear your amazing question. So, does anyone have a question?
Azita.
Well, nice to meet you.
Thank you. You too.
When I saw the clip that you had from the bombing, it's interesting. It reminds me when I get a report from US media, when they were attacking to Iraq, saying even worse thing than this, they call it Christmas. I remember that word. It says it's like Christmas. So there was no description here to call it Christmas. So it's really heartbreaking. I mean, if they show these things, I am sure to American people, they will not stand it. My question from you, I know there is no airport, there is no embassy, there is nothing there. How you manage to be here with us, and what is your story behind it that you are here? We are honored to see you. And if from this audience we can, in any way we can support your cause and your willingness to be voice of the Palestinian and Gaza.
Thank you. Well, I mean, the first question, how I am here, you can ask the same question to other prisoners who were released from Gaza. You can see some Gazans here. So I'm not the only Gazan who is right? So I came to the US first in 2019 to attend a fellowship at Harvard for 10 months, and then I applied for a graduate program at Syracuse University, and I'm doing my MFA there. I mean, it's very, very hard for someone from Gaza to leave Gaza to attend a visa interview. The first time, when I got the offer from Harvard, I tried to go to Jerusalem, which is the American embassy. The Israelis didn't allow me to go there. I tried again, no chance. A third time, no chance. So I had to go to Egypt, and from Egypt I went to Jordan. So that's how I attended my visa interview. I think it is in Jordan. The next time I came, which is last August, so I was in Gaza during that time. So I was in the US in 2019, and I stayed until February 2021, just 3 months before the May attack. So I returned to Gaza to be with my family. I got stuck there, and I wanted to return. I had to apply again for a visa. And again, the Israelis didn't allow me to go to Jerusalem for 2 times. So I had to go to Egypt, and I attended my interview there. That's how I went out of Gaza, and I think no matter what kind of offer you have from Harvard, from MIT, from even maybe from the State Department, the Israelis are going to give you a hard time. So how you can support Gaza? I think there are many ways to support Gaza. First of all, attending such events. The second thing is to connect with other people who are concerned about Palestine. So I'm really concerned more about Palestine than about Gaza. I think Gaza is just a small part of Palestine, and because Palestine is occupied, Gaza is occupied and is under siege. And one of the things that I'm trying to change is when I created the Edward Said Public Library in Gaza. So I started it in 2016. It was opened in 2017, and now it has 2 branches in Gaza, and a 3rd branch joined us from East Jerusalem. So I think one great way of supporting people in Palestine, especially in Gaza, is giving them opportunities to learn and to educate themselves, and to listen to them and share their life.
Thank you, Mosab.
Yes?
I can't even start to tell you that your poems, about your poems, because it's a little too tough. But it occurred to me, I wonder, like, here you are in this fucked up country. You know how fucked up it is, more than we do even. We sort of observe how fucked up it is. And you're a poet. Any chance that there's poems about this place, these people, this country? I mean, there's different kinds of evil and shit that goes on.
Okay. Well, I think I'm not yet done with the stories I want to tell about Gaza. in order to start talking about, administrations, political things. I mean, I'm more concerned just transmitting and sharing the stories of the people who are being killed in Gaza and the West Bank, and about our hopes of returning to our hometowns and villages that were occupied in 1948. So I don't think I'm thinking about writing directly about political regimes or political figures.
What about the persons here or wherever? I mean, anything here, anything.
Well, when it happens, I will share.
Maybe you don't feel it. Maybe it's like it's not even a real place. It's like it's not a real place. We're just living in a fantasy.
Yeah.
We don't understand what's happening.
Well, again, as I told you, I mean, I think it's very important to report what's happening on the ground rather than engaging with political regimes, and you just don't want to get directly with them. You just tell them what they are doing to other people without telling them that you are doing, because everyone knows the American administration funds Israel. So we are just telling you what these weapons are doing to us. And one funny thing, the first, maybe not really funny, when after Israel attacked the Islamic University of Gaza, my alma mater, the first book that I found under the rubble was the Northern Anthology of American Literature.
Oh, shit.
And you see how we Palestinians in Gaza or other places, we study and we read and we admire all literature in the world, including American literature, and we are being attacked by weapons that are funded by American people, not necessarily you as an individual, but in general as a nation.
We have the last question, this young man.
Thank you for coming here tonight. While you were speaking, there was just kind of a thought that occurred to me. Excuse me. Where when you think about the kinds of actions that are taken by, in the case of 2021, the settler who was taking the homes in Sheikh Jarrah, Yaakov Fauci, who was on camera saying, "If I didn't steal this home, somebody else would." And I was like kind of thinking about that in conjunction with, like, in America, how we had white-only drinking fountains, and the thought occurred to me that there's a certain degree of, like, just bizarre and antisocial clownishness that's inherent in the attitude and arrogance that you need to be able to say, this stupid water fountain is going to belong to white people only, and we're going to take this house. But the impact is really real. You turned the way that it interacts with you into something that's far more intelligent and beautiful. And I was trying to, like, formulate a good way to ask a question about it, but I guess I'll leave it open to you to respond how you will. I very much appreciate the way that you're able to express your end, given that from my vantage point, it's a lot harder to see and absorb. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. You want me to comment? I think a poet, any writer, starts to write whatever they are writing without realizing that they are doing something very important. So I liken my growing up as a poet to a child who was just starting to crawl, and then starting to lean on things to walk, and then starting to walk on his own, and then starting to run. So the child is not aware that he's doing this, what he's doing exactly. He's growing up. He's not aware of this, but others can see. And I think the same thing goes for poets and writers. So they write what they write because they believe in what they are doing. And people just tell them, okay, thank you for telling us, this is very important. So I think, to me, I mean, I won't think of my work as very important until people like you come here and just listen and appreciate what we're doing. Thank you.
I would like to invite the Gaza ambassadors here. بفضل كرم لؤي مؤيد وتاج السر تفضلوا. تعالوا لؤي. هقول اليوم انا بس. يارا موجودة يارا؟ يارا مطر. لا طيب. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. I personally have been out of Gaza for 7 years. And I cannot tell you what I felt when I saw these videos of the last attack. Because I lived it with my family. It was the worst war for me personally because it was the first war to live it outside the Gaza Strip. And what's interesting is that I wasn't only outside Gaza in that war. I was in these United States of America. As a matter of fact, I was in Washington, D.C. as the president of this country was signing to ship more weapons. So what we saw in the videos is the weapons are made, funded, and equipped by Washington, D.C., whether we like it or not. Because of that, it took me a while I had a few options, leave this country, otherwise I don't want to be complicit in causing damage to my own family since I'm paying taxes in this country. Or I can organize the hard work. So I met these young men. They share the same aspiration. And we formed something called Gaza Ambassador. Before we talk about Gaza Ambassador, I'd like to hear my fellows some comments and how long each one of us have been outside and what do they think of the poetry. We'll start with Karam and please introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, thank you for coming tonight. My name is Karam. I'm from Gaza. I was born and raised in Gaza. I left actually Gaza when I was 25 years old, so it has been 6.5 years. I worked in Gaza as a registered nurse, and I had a chance to serve my community, my people in Gaza during the war of 2014 for 52 days. After that, by 2 years, I got a chance to come to the United States, hoping to find a safer place for myself and for my future family. Right now, I'm actually moving from serving my community in Gaza. I'm serving my community in Arlington, Virginia. Totally different people, but I live among them, so I served during COVID-19 as well. That's all pretty much about me.
Hi everyone, this is Lai Ahmed. I came to the States 6 months ago. I've been trying for 7 years to come here. I played for the Palestinian national team for soccer for 3 years. I'm coaching from far distance, a team in Gaza for traumatized kids and injured. We're having around 30 kids. We're training them on soccer, teaching them English, taking them to safe places. I came to the States through a program I've been trying to come for 7 years, and was an amazing opportunity to come here, carrying on. Thank you.
My name is Jamal, and I've been living here for 8 years, and I just want to thank him so much for. I'm still shaking literally, like I've been living everything in my mind, like all these little details he had described and all the situation he had them in his own version. We had them. I have it, and I'm literally shaking right now. I cannot even put my sentence. I'm sorry if I'm getting out of my English or whatever. Well, I was 19 years old when I came here. I used to be like normal kid who just loved to explore, acting, played sports, was here and there, and just discovering where I am. Like to write, like to shoot. Did a little bit of journalism school, and then I decided to come here for many reasons. Well, I came here through my sister, who had a scholarship before me, and I went from a comfort zone to my own personal comfort in the American dream, I guess. I've been everywhere doing like regular jobs, went to school for a little bit, dropped off, working here, working there, Amazon, construction, now I'm in AV, but I've always been in love with photography, videography, and film, and I've acted, I've been an actor and a model, and I'm just hoping one day I can collect all of those talents and energy here and there and be able to have a production where I can put those words and feelings and emotion in an actual visual arts where they can reach and shape many other hearts around the world and make it a closer image and a closer feeling, exactly how we receive it right now.
I would like, as Gaza ambassadors, would like to invite Andy Shalal to give him something for hosting us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Would like to invite Zaina Azam for moderating to give her something. That's just it. And we want to give our, I would say guest, but he's not part of the family. We'll give her a little touch to sit with, give it to him. I really cannot express what I feel. Thank you, Lucy, for coming. I want to see you. I don't know how to feel except empowered, inspired, of nothing to lose, except shining with the gifts that God gave us. Each one of us here, we made it out of nothing. And God chose for us to be in Washington, D.C. in 2023. And we, Jamal, Abu Fadl, Karam, Abu Hassan, Luay, Abu Mosab, Mosab Abu Yazal, with the help of Taj al-Sir and Muayyad, we decided to take the initiative to represent our people. From now on, get used to our faces. It's our time. And on this, some of you might think, gosh, I was seeing our faces through the bombing, and it was really tough to watch. But since trauma is a big thing in America now, and a lot of Americans would rather look at me as a victim, I would like to tell those people that my trauma and our trauma is the fuel for our revolution, inshallah. The fuel for liberation. So if you all need to want to help be part of our journey, I am a filmmaker, an art curator, he's a poet, he's a photographer, Karam is a nurse, Loai is a coach, and we have many around the States. If you want to be part of our growing family, you're more than welcome. And we're going to end it with a minute and a half to show you our team in the Gaza Strip and while working on different initiatives. And then we're going to have Mosab signing the books. Please buy the book. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone. Moya Baba, probably know this, I'm not Gaza. So, I'm from Sudan. But one question that was raised earlier to Mosab was about political action. Why is not political? The political movement should start from America, where we have to press our government to change the policies. Everybody has their own lane. Mosab artistically tells the stories, but we have to be politically active in America. I come from the world of politics, and trust me, I would never have imagined a day that a major political candidate would talk about Palestinian rights, would talk about Palestine. Bernie Sanders was the first time anybody was able to speak about it, and that created change. In America, it is a discussion now. So our work needs to be here. We need to start influencing here. We need to start lobbying on behalf of Palestine and helping Palestinians advocate for themselves. Thank you.
هنا بس من فريق العمل من داخل قطاع السينما. انا الفنان الفلسطيني ولا فلسطيني، القصد كل فنان فلسطيني يكون نقطه فلسطينيه من وسط الضرب ومن وسط الحصار ومن وسط الحروب يخرج الابداع.
حبينا نوصل رسالتنا لكم ولكل العالم.
انا عبد العزيز، انا سيستم بس، انا شاعر، انا محمد الشاعر، انا مشاهد، انا سفير بس.
أنا ولاء أتين، أنا مشاركة، أنا سفيرة غزة. مرحبا، أنا الفنانة ميسي موسى، أنا سفيرة غزة، أنا مشاركة. أنا الإعلامية آية الدرو، أنا سفيرة غزة، أنا مشاركة.
أنا مشارك، أنا سفير غزة. بنوصل ونوصل صوتك للعالم، أنا سفير غزة. تابعنا، شارك معنا، شارك في المشاركات لنوصل أخبار عدد من المتابعين لنوصل صوتنا على صفحات الفيسبوك. تابعنا عبر الفيسبوك والإنستغرام.